The war in heaven. Is it truth? Is it deception? Is it somewhere in between? Our continued look at the book by Kyle Griffith that postulates that there is a war in heaven between opposing astral forces, and there is a corresponding war on earth between human and earthbound spirits aligned with these parties. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Thank you for joining our channel. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for liking and sharing, and thank you for becoming sponsors of the Unindoctrinator. Become an Unindoctrinator. Let's look at War in Heaven, a book that is now out of print, and it says just what I said it says, and we're looking at chapter 7. He talks about an invisible war. And in this chapter, he says that he discusses the manipulation of, let's see where we get this where we can read it. He discusses, we're trying to get some decent software going so we won't have to go through all of this rigmarole. But, you know, we do the best we can with what we have at the time. So here we are doing the best that we can. He's discussing the manipulation of human society by unseen agents in an invisible war between opposing forces. And he postulates, Kyle Griffith, the author of the book, that the works of Robert Anton Wilson were the first to really speculate about this war. Well, it's interesting. He makes a good point, but this is why you have to check and look and make sure. Robert Anton Wilson was born, you can see him when he was born in 1932, died just fairly recently, 2007. Essayist, editor, playwright, poet, futurist, self-described agnostic mystic. He was a pope and saint of Discordianism, and Discordianism is a paradigm based upon the Principalia Discordia. It's basically, this is the Greek goddess of discord. And basically it's a parody religion. Although most people think that they're worshiping Eris, the god of chaos. And there's really no belief system. People were encouraged to form schisms and cabals. And it really was more of a parody religion, but yet there was some truth and I think some seriousness in the idea of worshiping this goddess of discord, because his big thrust, that is of, if we can get back to where we're supposed to be. Wow, that wasn't easy, was it? We got some opposition going on, but we're going to get right through it. The big thrust of Robert Anton Wilson was to get people to think for themselves, to get people to be disconcordian, to say, no way, we're not going to go along with the system. We're not going to go along with the flow. We're not going to go with the powers that be. So he's trying to get people to think outside the box. And let's just say it in his own words. Attempt to break down conditioned associations. I'm all for breaking down conditioned associations, because, of course, I'm the Christian Whistleblower, and our conditioned association to Roman Pauline religion is exactly one of these conditions that does need to be broken down. He also encouraged us to look at the world in a new way, with many models recognized as models or maps, and no one model elevated to the truth. His goal being to try to get people into a state of generalized agnosticism, not agnosticism about God, but agnosticism about everything. And I think that is a very laudable goal. Agnostic doesn't mean that you don't believe. Agnostic just means that you're a Missouri kind of show-me person. I would consider myself an agnostic. Show it to me. Give me some evidence. Give me something that I can hold on to. Give me something that I can see. Give me something that I can understand. Give me something that I can observe. Now, it might be spiritual observation. It might be incorporeal evidence. But I am a skeptic. I am an agnostic. I'm not accepting your words on UFOs. I'm not accepting your words on religion. I'm not accepting your words on spirituality. I'm not accepting your words about the astral realm. I'm not accepting Kyle Griffith's word. That's why we're looking into this, and that's why we are going through and finding out about all of these people. The idiocy of the world haunts me, said Robert Anton Wilson. If it were abolished, human thought might begin to make sense. I don't know what anything is. I only know how it seems to me at this moment. Absolutely. That was from one of his writings. So this is a guy that had a very unique way of looking at things. This is a guy that wrote some books, a series of books, right here, the Illuminatus trilogy. And he co-authored it with his fellow Playboy editor, Robert Shea. Did I mention this guy was an editor of Playboy magazine? He called it a fairy tale for paranoids. It was a 3-book set, The Eye in the Pyramid, The Golden Apple, and Leviathan. Came out as a single volume. And it had a bunch of ideas and thoughts and examinations that were mainly humorous and philosophical. So to say that this guy said that there is opposing forces, and I mean, to take his work at complete face value would probably be an error, because he was writing with humor, he was writing philosophically, but I mean, he observed and wrote about many things: the occult, magical symbolism in history, counterculture of the 60s. He wrote about secret societies. He wrote about H.P. Lovecraft. He wrote about Aleister Crowley. He wrote about American paranoia, about conspiracies and conspiracy theories. And really, he said that the main purpose of the Illuminatus trilogy was to poke fun at the conspiratorial frame of mind, as reported in the Edmonton Journal, March 18th, 2013. And they did compile some of their odd material from letters to Playboy, and I can imagine people writing to Playboy write some weird stuff, and the book mixed true information with imaginative fiction to engage the reader in what Wilson called guerrilla ontology. I don't think that link works anymore. Oh, it does. Guerrilla ontology is the study of being. The guerrilla approach is to mix elements of each book that the writer must decide on each page how much of this is real and how much of this is he just putting me on. And so he would use truth, he would use objective fact, and he would also make stuff up that went along with the theory and went along with the narrative. He called it Operation Mind Bleep. You can imagine what that is. And it's very, very interesting that he was in the idea, in the thought of intentionally putting out truth, intentionally adding some fiction to it, and intentionally causing you to use your thought process to say, is this real or is this Memorex? And I think to a certain degree in the paranormal, in the realms that we find ourselves in, we have somewhat lost our ability to be objective. We've lost our ability to sift through information. We either say, oh yeah, this is all true, or we say, none of this is true. And I think that if we were to answer the call and heed the wisdom again of Mr. Robert Anton Wilson, it would serve us very, very well as we read through things. And it's kind of like I say to you many times, eat the meat, throw out the bones. You know, eat the vegetables, throw away the clippings. And I think, unfortunately, within the paranormal movement, that has become a lost art. And maybe we've just become too lazy to do it. It's just like within Christianity. People want everything handed to them on a platter. They want the mama bird to blah, throw it up so you can just eat it up. If we just accept the words of fill in the blank, your favorite paranormal, your favorite conspiracy speaker, myself included, if we just accept the words of any of these people, we're no more noble, and probably less so than the people accepting the words of their priest and their pastor and their rabbi, because we ought to know better. We've realized that old paradigm is broken, and that old paradigm is not there to service us. It's there to fleece us. So we ought to be smart enough to employ the ideas and the ideology, really, of Robert Anton Wilson. And I think it's in that sense that Griffith references Anton Wilson's books about the manipulation of human society by unseen entities, and that there is a complex invisible war going on between opposing forces. I think it's very interesting. I think it's a nice corollary. And one of the things that was also very interesting about Wilson's writing is that he pulled in ideas from Lovecraft, and we talked about Lovecraft yesterday, the Cthulhu mythos, and the Leogor being the ultimate source of the knowledge and power used to manipulate human society and reprogram individual minds throughout history. Like Lovecraft, he talks about shadowy beings that remain in the background or in another dimension, quote unquote, and that most of the earthly conspiracies are the work of humans who have learned some of their knowledge secondhand. So it's almost like we're being manipulated by people that are being manipulated that don't know they're manipulated. We're manipulated by manipulators that are being manipulated. And that's probably very close to the truth, because it has to be a deep conspiracy. There has to be many levels to it. And I would think that these guys are down into some information that is workable and that is helpful to us. One of Wilson's books talks about a person named Greg McMurtry, a conversation with him. And McMurtry was an occultist who Aleister Crowley had said, hey, I want you to take over. He was one of Crowley's successors. McMurtry had read much of the secret knowledge of the OTO and the Order of the Golden Dawn. And this is what McMurtry said. This is a guy that was conversant with Crowley. This is a guy that knew enough about this that Crowley said, hey, I want you to be one of my successors. So he at least knew what he was talking about. He at least knew that he was very well read. And McMurtry said, I'll tell you what I think. McMurtry said, I think there's war in heaven. The higher intelligences, whoever they are, they're not all playing on the same team. Some of them are trying to encourage our evolution to higher levels, and some of them just want to keep us stuck where we are. I almost take an even more dim view. I take a more self-directed, self-reliant view. By self, I mean reliant upon the spark of divinity that is within me and within each of us. I believe I'm not going to rely on any higher intelligence helping to encourage my evolution to higher levels, because you know what I want to do? I want to be my own guru. I want to guide my own spirit. I want to master my ascension. And there's nothing that spirit guides, ascended masters, astral teachers can do for you that you can't do for yourself. And there's many things that you can do for yourself that they can't do for you. I wish you'd get the book Serpents and Doves in the Garden of the Gods so you would understand the nature of what these astral entities are. And it might be a time again to go through that book. But I do accept the possibility, with a great big huge asterisk, that there are some higher intelligences in the astral realm that are there to encourage and assist and help facilitate our evolution to higher levels. Reluctantly. And I think they're few and far in between. There seems to be a female entity in the astral plane that will accept identification with Mary, Diana, and many other helpful female thought forms or figures that are in people's mind, and she does seem to be helpful. I'm still very skeptical. There are some entities, male entities there that seem to be helpful, seem to be wanting to help. But, folks, not everybody that says he's Archangel Michael is going to be Archangel Michael. And not everybody that says, or you ask, oh, are you of the light? They can say yes and lie to your face. Whoever decided that these entities are incapable of telling you no if you ask them, are they of the light, is one of the most, I don't want to use stupid, but a person that's done some of the most damage spiritually to people in the history of spirituality, because that is the most thoughtless thing that I've ever heard. Of course they can lie to you. That's what they do. And talking about one of Wilson's books, I must tell you now that your God is a manifestation of the same Leogor. This is how religion began and how their servants in the cult of the yellow sign continue it. All such experiences come from the Leogor to enslave us. Revelations, visions, trances, miracles, it's all a trap. Every religious leader in human history has been a member of the cult of the yellow sign, and all their efforts are devoted to hoaxing, deluding, and enslaving the rest of us. Maybe Wilson wrote this because he couldn't write it and do like I do and say it's the Lord and it's Roman Catholicism and it's Roman Christianity, because he actually wanted to sell some books. And he couched it in an allegory. Maybe I should have been smart enough to do that. I should have just left the rat bastard be unidentified. Because everybody would agree that there's a rat bastard in the spiritual realms working against us. But when I start saying, oh, that rat bastard is the Lord, the God of the Old Testament, the one you've been worshiping, well, then things get a little sideways for some people. But it's true. The Lord is the Leogor. I'm going to start calling him Leogor. Or Leogor. I got to look up the pronunciation. I think it's Leogor. And that would be from Lovecraft lore. And I've got the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft here. Not easy to read. Very deep. And all of the servants of the cult of Abrahamic religion, all of their revelations, all of their visions, all of their trances, all of their miracles, it's all a trap. Even the good parts. Oh, but Jeff, I get answered prayer. Well, yeah, because that's to keep you in the system of slavery. Oh, but Jeff, I get healings. That's to keep you in the system of slavery. Oh, but Jeff, I get these signs. That's to keep you within the hoax, within the delusion, within the enslavement. It's to keep you in the soul farm. Very interesting. Another part of Wilson's work talked about the Sirius mystery. And, I mean, there's so much talk now about the Sirians. And Wilson was one of the first to postulate the evidence that space travelers from Sirius came to Earth at the time of the Pharaohs. Also, Robert K.G. Temple, The Sirius Mystery of 1979. Robert Anton Wilson and a number of other people started receiving telepathic messages concerning Sirius years before Temple's book was written. So Griffith is postulating, and I can't confirm it, can't deny it, that Wilson was receiving telepathic messages from Sirius. And Wilson did write some of these things, but again, we have to ask, and we should be asking, and I love that we're asking, is he serious or is he pulling my leg here? It's a very artful literary device to use to get us to consider truths that we might otherwise reject. If I'd have been as skillful a writer and speaker as Mr. Wilson, maybe we would be doing better, but I think we're going to do better anyway. We're approaching 5,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. So Wilson, allegedly in 73, received a extremely vivid telepathic message that said, Sirius is very important. Timothy Leary, at the same time in prison, was getting communications from extraterrestrials that he called the starseed transmissions. So you've got all of these writers, all of these guys in the same vein and the same frame of mind, receiving messages from Syrians from other places. And Griffith kind of asks, and he goes into the whole thing about the speculations of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I think that I've disposed of that by knowing that the Apostle John taught that the Christ, or Jesus, if you want to call him that, that's a terrible thing to call him, but the Christ came as a full-grown man, was only in Jerusalem, Judea, for about 3.5 years, went other places. So the whole, Mary Magdalene and their descendants, I think that is nothing but a deception to pull our mind away from real truth. I mean, if you're busy searching out the Da Vinci Code, then you're not going to look into the book of John and see it written plain there. Oh, he came a full-grown man. Bethlehem is a made-up fairy tale, and he hung around about 3.5, 4 years here, and then he was gone to some other place. So it's not this Mary Magdalene thing. It's not the Holy Grail thing. It is the fact that the Christ came as a full-grown man. And this is one of the great secrets. The priory, talking about the whole Da Vinci Code thing, they want to say that the true nature of gods and men and the relationship between the two is revealed by their stuff, but really it's the Christ that reveals that to us. He gives us the true nature of the gods, male and female, gods and goddesses, encompassed in the word Elohim in Hebrew, that he himself was an Elohim, and that he manifests here on this earth to bring us the best of all the ways and all the truths that lead to life, and to help us understand that we've got the spark of divinity within us, and that our relationship really is with ourselves and our higher self, and it's stoking and building and becoming all that we're supposed to be, and helping and encouraging and recognizing that same growth and development within our neighbor. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Recognize the divinity in your neighbor, but you've got to recognize it in yourself first, or else you're looking at that neighbor like, what you talking about, Willis? But now, oh, that's all right, Willis, you got divinity too, I'm with you. So, it's very, very, very interesting. And I think it really behooves us to look back into the history and the development of the ideas that we take as, they're just what they are. Oh, this is the way it is. This is the way it's always been within the paranormal movement. But you know what? We need to be better than that. We need to be higher than that. We need to be smarter than that. And when we look back at the people that created this movement, and we look back at the thoughts and the beliefs and the structures upon which the tenets of this movement are built upon, it helps us immeasurably. We're looking here at the foundations of the astral thought. We're looking here at foundations of some of the UFO thought. I have to get into Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, and maybe we'll take a stab at the foundations of conspiratorial thought. And we're trying to get a well-rounded education, a well-rounded understanding of the underpinnings of our movement so we can be more effective in channeling it, leading it, guiding it, and using it to defeat the plans of the rat bastard, to defeat the final false flag that is designed to be our ultimate demise. It can instead be our ultimate victory. Yes, I'm talking about high-minded things. Yes, I'm talking about huge ideas, but huge ideas is our business, gentlemen. Huge ideas is our business, ladies. Some of you might recognize that quote from Captain Kirk. Well, Jim, that's a big risk. Gentlemen, risk is our business. Risk is our business. Big ideas is our business. Defeating the rat bastard is our business. Creating an environment where we can further our own spiritual evolution and can be of help to furthering other people's spiritual evolution. Freeing people from slavery of the mind, both here and in the spiritual realm. That's our business. And cousin, business is a booming. At least around here, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. This is what guiding your own spirit's all about. This is what mastering your own ascension's all about. This is what being your own guru's all about. This is how it feels to unwind your mind, to unindoctrinate yourself, to be excellent to yourself, so we can be excellent to each other.